What's up, guys? It's John at National Sports Entertainment, and I just wanted to go into tonight's games. Like I said yesterday, we did well. We only had the one loss with the Pacers, and in college, we did not get the Nebraska over. That was a leg too. So we have a couple. I'm actually going to play basically the whole schedule tonight. And for basketball in college, there was exactly one game that I did like. So we'll hit that first. Again, it fits a metric that I like. And this one, it's Southern. I like fading them and taking Alabama State. If you can see, 15-6 here, which, it's happened before, but they're getting close to the 80% tier. And once they're between 75-80%, I still consider it a good take. And every other game in here, there's no team. That's an ad I want to see. There's no team that really, in my opinion, jumps off, to me that fits the metric. The only one is Alabama State. So I'm going to take Alabama State, and that will be a leg 2. And then for the NBA, like I said, I'm going to basically play the whole schedule. So first we got the Celtics playing the Pistons, and this is normally a game I'd stay away from, just because with big spreads in basketball, it could really go either way. But in this case, I do like Boston on the road to be laying 10.5, good amount of points, even against the worst team in the league. So I do think that this is where you're going to get people the early games. And if you notice, a lot of times you'll see the early game and then the absolute latest game. Not always, but the early game and the late game will have like a giant spread. So I think people like doing teasers, things of that nature. And sure, people might tease Boston down to 3.5. But I think it's more likely people would tease a team to 17.5, just thinking they're not going to get completely walloped. So I like Boston here to cover the 10.5. I think they also need to make them look strong. I think they're going to, not just them, I think they need to start making a lot of these teams look strong so they're formidable looking teams in the playoffs. So that's going to be a leg 1. Boston covers. Here I love the Wizards. You know why. I don't think they can fall too much behind 500. But I do think that they're going to have them finish 9th or 10th so they can play the Bulls in the play-in. I think that makes sense. So I think them and the Bulls have to stay pretty close to each other. So I like the Wizards in that one to cover. Here we got the Clippers Nets, which is interesting. I think that they want to show how much better the Nets are going to be with Dorian, with Dinwiddie and things like that. For that to happen, they can't play too good without him. So I think since they're not going to be suiting up tonight, I like the Clippers here to cover. I think also Clippers covering keeps the Nets closer to the Knicks, closer to some other teams in the East, and also keeps the Clippers closer to a lot of these teams. Like I said, I know people thought I was joking. I really think a lot of these teams in the West are going to go on runs. Obviously, the Mavs will be next. And I think they're going to flip the Kings. So, yeah, I really like the Clippers to cover here. Another leg 1. And another leg 1 here is going to be, I'm going to take Chicago to cover. I've noticed the Spurs have almost become like a casualty team where they just seem to be the team getting wiped by the other teams, the Bulls, the Heat, whoever they're playing. The other day, I think we had the Wizards, actually, I think it was. Whoever it was, they wiped the Spurs. So I like the Bulls here. I think again, they have to look strong, finish pretty close to 500, and they have, again, too much money on the team. Now, they might be doing like a Toronto thing where they are slowly getting rid of players. That's fine. They're still going to have people invested in them this year. So, Bulls cover. Again, leg 1. Now we got Kings, Rockets, and I like the Rockets to cover. And no, it's not just because I hate the Kings and I want the Kings out of the playoffs, because that was my prediction. The reason I like the Rockets to cover is because of the discrepancy with the spreads. Kings are a very good team against the spread. Rockets very bad. Rockets are they're not as bad as the Mavs, who are, right now the Mavs are like defying history. Not quite, but almost. But the Rockets are in the low 40s. And just based off of that, I think a lot of people with a healthy healthy Kings team, probably going to be taking Sacramento here. So because I think there's a chance Sacramento falls off, and because I like the Rockets against the spread, I'm taking the Rockets here. Now we got Mavs, Jazz, and this one is an interesting one, but I love the Mavs. Just because Again, you still don't have Luka or Kyrie yet, but I think they cover because their record against the spread is just abysmal. Now I'm going, and you see the Jazz have a good record. So not only do I think the Mavs could win, but they could probably cover, but they might be able to win this game. Now that being said, they probably want them to look not so good without their two guys that are going to be their draws for the next five years, however long Kyrie stays. But I still like the Mavs to cover. Then we got Thunder Warriors, and this one's a very interesting one because you got no Steph, and you got the Warriors being pushed as a good home team here. And at the same time, you got the Thunder with a great record against the spread. Here I do actually like Golden State. And normally I'd go with Oklahoma City. But again, Oklahoma City does not have to finish with a crazy record. Actually, I think them losing makes sense. The Jazz, some of these teams. Because don't forget, they got to keep the Lakers in it. So some of these teams that are, your 8 through 10 seeds in the West, I think need to start losing. So it makes it more interesting for your teams that are 11, 12, things like that. You got Blazers, Lakers, a couple teams right outside the playoff picture. And then we got Bucks, Blazers, we were just speaking of. And here I do like the Blazers. Again, a lot of this is just I'm taking my long season playoff predictions. And the only way that it makes sense is for certain teams to win, certain teams to lose. And we got 4.5 points to fall back on. So it's not one that I'm looking at this game and thinking, I'm actually thinking, that people are probably going to be on the Bucks because the public all year just really hasn't picked the Blazers too much. And B, again, to set up the playoffs, I think you got to have the Blazers ahead of the Jazz. Certain teams you just have to have in, and certain teams you can't. They had the Jazz in last year. That's back when they had Gobert. I think they had Beverly, and they still weren't a draw then. They're not a draw now. But yeah, as you can see, I like. Just because of all these are narratives, by the way. I don't think it's a coincidence. We got the Clippers and Nets on TV now. Again, I think it's to show how, quote, not bad, but like just how much better the Nets are going to be when they have their guys who they don't have right now. So I think that one's a good one for the Clippers. And yeah, so for college, Alabama State to cover Southern will be my leg too. And then for the NBA, I would normally play the Mavs. I think just because they're injured players, people might fade them. So I'm going to play them anyway as a leg 2. That's the only reason I'm not making them a leg 3. I would make them a leg 3 if, like I said, I thought they had Kyrie and Luka for a couple games. They got into a rhythm. Then people were picking a certain way. When you have injured players or, in this case, he's not even played with the team yet, and now he's not playing tonight, it's just harder to pick those games. That's why I stopped picking the Heat, because the Heat always have so many injuries. I just stopped picking them because I'd pick them and then the spread would swing. But yeah, just to run it back one time. I think Celtics cover. I like the Wizards to cover. Again, these are all leg 1s. Nets. I do like the Clippers to cover the Nets. So Celtics, Wizards, Clippers. I like the Bulls to cover. I like the Rockets to cover. And the Rockets will be a leg 2 along with the Mavs, okay? So Rockets cover, Mavs cover, both a leg 2. I like the Warriors to cover, and I like the Blazers to cover. Now, what I'm going to do is play the Blazers as the leg 3. The reason I'm doing that is because of all the games tonight, I like the Blazers the most. I've also been pretty accurate with the West, with the Blazers. And I'm just looking at the other games, and I'm just not loving them. The Blazers kind of they check all the boxes I like as far as public action and narratives. So that's it. And like I said, for college, I like Alabama State to cover Southern as a leg 2. Okay. So again, leg 2s will be Rockets cover, Mavs cover, Alabama State covers. Those are our 3. And then our leg 3 will be our only leg 3 will be the Blazers cover. And that's what I like. And like I said, always try and wait as close to the closing spread as you can. And then we could talk about if it is indeed LeBron James' fault that nobody wants to play with him. If I had a guess right now, I would say yes. But you guys could let me know what you think about that. I think it's pretty funny he's putting this out there. By the way, Trae Young had an interesting take on this. He said NBA going to NBA. Shake my head or something like that. If that's not saying that the league's a rigged show, I don't know what is. But yeah, that's what Trae Young said. He didn't say Nets going to Net or Lakers going to Laker or Kyrie's going to Kyrie or Mavs going to Mav. Like, the teams that were involved in this trade. He just said NBA going to NBA. Almost like the NBA just did it itself and the teams had nothing to do with it and had no say in the matter. That'd be interesting, huh? But yeah, so I thought that was an interesting tweet by Trey. That could have been his Jalen Ramsey kind of tweet, so maybe he gets a little bit of a punishment or maybe he gets rewarded because he kind of stayed silent, but he's telling them he knows what's up. And we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's interesting. I think everybody knows. It's laughable when you think about that they traded away Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith is one of the more overpaid backups, can't do anything. And now they're trading Kyrie to get back Dinwiddie. I brought up in my Discord, if I tried this in 2K, the other team would immediately shut down negotiations. It'd be in the red because there's no way that this team would ever work, this trade would ever work outside of, again, a scripted league where they are just artificially going to pump the value of Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith to make it seem like they're both great role players. Now, Dinwiddie is good, but again, let's be serious. Like, you're talking about Kyrie Irving. So, it'll be interesting. I like it because I like the Clippers, and I think it's just to set up the Mavs to look like they're going to win, and then they're going to do what they did with San Francisco. But we'll see what happens, and like I said, I think we have a good night. So take care, and happy earnings.